I actually work on the business and not in the business.
Mm-hmm.
So I have nothing to do with the day-to-day running of the business. I work at the moment. What I'm working on is the new warehouse.
Yeah. So more strategic stuff in terms of
talking to the accountant, talking to the solicitor, like things a business owner would do.
Coming and doing podcasts.
Doing podcasts, 100%.
So how long has it been since you've been able to? Was that a transition, or did one day you get up and say, "Bugger that, I'm going to get out of this business. I want to work on it"? How did that happen?
So, being really honest, I think it was back in 2015 or 16. We went to our accountant's office. They had a speaker there he was actually a business coach, doing a presentation. And we went, and I had a look at this presentation, and the more he spoke, the more I thought, like, he's talking about reliable. And it was just like unbelievable. So when the presentation finished, I mean, the guy's name's Ivan Gavrin.
Yes.
I went up and had a chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I said to him, I told him what his presentation, what it meant to me. And I said, I'd like to talk to you about it. And at the time, he had a thing called a beep test.
Right.
Where, they talk to your staff, talk to your customers, and they come back and
give you a feel for what.
Yeah.
So
I thought, what have I got to lose? Like, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And he did it. It was an eye-opener,
Was it? Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? We brought him on to give us a push.
Some support.
And we were just moving into our new warehouse then from the mezzanine.
From the mezzanine to the new warehouse.
Into the 1,000 square metre warehouse. So, that was a bit scary at the time.
Yes.
So, Ivan came on board, and, the first thing he said was, so if we were down a staff member or that, Ben would jump in a truck and go do deliveries and
get on the tools, so to speak.
I'd get on the tools, and the first thing he said was, all right, well, who's running your business while you're on the tools? And, I didn't have an answer to that question. So that was the first thing he started working on, getting the owners out of the day-to-day running of the business and working on the business.
Yeah.
And that's how it all started. And
it's sort of gone from there.
Yeah. So he's really helped in that sense.
Was it a hard transition to go through that, Ben?
I'm a perfectionist. And to tell someone don't do it like that, do it like this. And my business coach is saying, don't tell them, like, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
And things like that was really tough, really tough. But now today, it's easy.
You're more comfortable in that environment.
100%. Yeah. Well, I trust my people now.
I was going to mention that word, right? So that was obviously hard to give for a period, right? But now, the way you talked about your team a little while ago tells me that you've got supreme trust that...
Yeah. Look, the beauty with my team is that nearly all my managers grew into their role.
Yes.
They didn't come to me as managers.
Yeah.
So, we talk about Justine, general manager. She came to me as a telesales girl.
Yeah, isn't it? That's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, but from day one, I just saw something, just the way she was just on top of everything. And, she's actually got a, uni degree in international business.
Yeah, right.
And
and she's been the general manager for 4 years, Ben.
Yeah, 4, probably, maybe even 5. But fantastic.
The fact that they grew into the role, why is that important? Is that about sort of being able to mesh with the culture of the team rather than of being sort of, developed in another place under a different regime with different expectations? Do you think that?
Yeah.
Is that the defining point?
Well, they've bought into my vision.
Yes.
So I had my vision.
Yeah.
And they've bought into that. They believe it. and they've continued it.
Yeah.
They haven't come to me, like you said, from somewhere else and said, no, I don't like the way you're doing that. This is the way we did it at the other place, and just want to change everything. So they've bought into my vision, which makes it easy for me because I believe in my vision. And so do they. So that's what's made it really easy.
So they're running the day-to-day. You're working on the business. If you get involved in what they do, what sort of things do you help them with?
So if I get involved, there's two things. They either tell me, don't worry, it's not your problem.
There is a problem, but it's not your problem.
That's right. Or, I never thought of that, thanks.
Yeah.
So depending what it is, we'll put our heads together but sometimes I'll hear something, and I'll say, what's wrong in that? And exactly what I said, they'll say, don't worry, it's not your problem.
Wow.
Because it's something that they don't need me for. They can deal with it.
Well, and they're obviously taking the initiative. They want to sort it out.
100%. But, sometimes they'll come knocking on my door and, they'll say, we need your help with this. And, whether it's smacking a supplier around or, or sometimes, we have customers that have been with us since day one. They'll come in my office sometimes and say, look, Alan, he really wants to talk to you. So I'll call the customer, have a chat, and I still talk to customers today. Last night I was SMSing a customer about the chip situation.
Yes.
So I still like to get involved.
But a good business, so I'm thinking of it from, as you know, we value a lot of businesses, right? And I think on the customer side and also on the supplier side, a strong business is one where there are multi-layers of relationships. You haven't got necessarily single relationships. So, notwithstanding that a customer might want to talk to the head honcho, they'll also have relationships within the day-to-day team.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that breeds a much stronger connection. I'm really interested to see how you've developed that team. Particularly, as you say, from the start, I experienced you as a perfectionist, but I say that in a positive way, right? We both know there's pros and cons to that. But it's hard when you run a business and you create it because you've got to drive it, and it's like an adolescent. It's in its small stages, one false move and it could be down the toilet, so to speak. But then you get to a point where it's bigger than you, it's bigger than everyone, right? Yeah. So you've got to share it, so to speak. And you've kind of been through that transition.
Yeah. And look, I think, with this next move, everyone says to me, oh, it's exciting. I said, yeah, it's exciting and scary at the same time because it's a massive move.
So let's talk about that next move because, what's led to that? I mean, how far out, you're working on the business, how far out do you look? Are you looking out sort of 5 years and saying, well, look, I think there's an opportunity here which we haven't captured, and to do that we need to invest X and Y and Z, or how are you, or are you sort of planning in a near term and seeing where it goes? Like how do you play that game?
Yeah, look, I like to look a fair bit ahead. And I think in this business you need to.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say 5 years.
No.
But
3 maybe.
So I started looking for this warehouse just before COVID hit because we were, running out of room and I was a bit, do we, don't we, do we? So I just started looking and I actually found this warehouse. Where this warehouse is, there's, I think 5 or 6 warehouses.
In a group?
In a group, in a little private cul-de-sac. And I actually looked at a warehouse that was 5,000 square metres.
Really?
It was even bigger than what we got now. And then COVID hit. So I started talking to them.
Yeah.
Then COVID hit and I put that on the back burner.
Yeah.
And, we went through the COVID, all the ups and downs of good old COVID.
A challenging time. Yeah.
And when it was all over, business went back to good, and I started looking again. So I contacted the same people. The 5,000 square was gone.
Yeah.
Someone had taken it.
Yeah.
And they had 2 warehouses left, 2 separate ones. And I said, well, they're no good. They're not big enough. And they said, what if we rip the wall out of the middle?
Make
3,000 square metres. I said, well, yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
And honestly, I drove my wife mad. I'd go home every day and say, what do I do? Do we, don't we? And she kept saying to me, what are you still thinking about this for? You could do this. You've done it before. What are you still thinking about? I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's a big move. And we'd leave it. And, a few days later, I'd say, I've got to make a decision on this warehouse. And I was actually honestly driving her mad.
Yeah.
She said, you're driving me mad. Just do it. You'll never look back. We spoke about it at work and everything. Everyone was like, we should do it. And bang, we did it. It happened and away we went.
And how long is that space gonna be sufficient for, do you think?
For me personally, that's it.
Oh, is it?
For them? Yeah, look, I mean, for me, I'd love to say, well, we might outgrow this in a few years, but it's a big space.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, I'd love to outgrow it.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll say a lot for the business.
Yes.
But my thought is not about outgrowing the space.
No.
The thought is about the business in that space and what we have to do to, make Reliable bigger. And I won't say better because I think we're the best as it is.
Yeah, that's good.
But we're now starting to, we've been planning probably for 6 months already, putting on more staff, a bigger sales team, and because, moving into this space is going to give us room to expand, to bring on more customers. And
I think it's a really important topic. How do you in your business, how do you manage growth, right? Because I feel like there's this view that, I just want to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and I want to grow my sales, and that's what I measure my performance on. Do you know what I mean? And I see a lot of businesses do that, and some do it successfully, and others, grow this line, but the other line goes like this, and then the cash line even goes worse. I mean, have you experienced that challenge in Reliable, and how do you go about sort of making growth be sustainable, I guess?
So look, we have a CFO, not full-time, obviously. I've got a bookkeeper that's been with me since nearly day one. So we're constantly looking at numbers and, if we need to, change things up, we're very responsive. One of the things during COVID with our suppliers, I was actually sending my suppliers a payment plan for the next month, so they knew exactly what they were getting, when they were getting it. And we've always been like that.
Yeah.
We've always been the type of business that we would go out and get the business first and then buy the truck.
Yes.
Rather than buy the truck and then go and chase the business.
Yep.
And we've been like that since day one. Some people might say we're cautious. Yeah, to an extent, yeah, we are.
Yeah, but you sort of demand is driving the business investment rather than the reverse.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. I just don't believe, I tell these people the story a lot, I'm not the type of person that goes and gets a warehouse and fits it out and goes and buys 10 trucks and so on, and then wakes up one morning and says, oh, I better go get some customers now. I'm the opposite.
Yeah, you prove it up first.
Yeah. And look, it's worked for 18 years.
There must be something in it. Yeah.
Correct. So, the old saying, if it's not broken, don't try and fix it.
Yeah.
So, that's the way I've always done it, and that's the way I want to keep doing it. It's worked.